Hey guys, welcome to part 3 of the real reason of why Washington wants to kill vaping. So this right here is the money video. This video here is going to be discussing the money that these politicians in these states are losing because of vaping. And it doesn't have to do all with tax dollars either. They're losing that, but they're also losing what I'm getting ready to talk about, which is the Master Settlement Agreement money. And what's happened is 46 out of the 50 states entered into a master settlement agreement in November of 1998. The reason it's not all 50 states is because 4 of these states were what they refer to as the original settling states. And these states settled before November of 1998. So that's why they're not included into the main master settlement agreement. So these 4 states that I'm alluding to are Mississippi, Florida, Texas, and Minnesota. Those 4 states settled before November of 1998. So the Master Settlement Agreement is a huge, thick document agreement that was forged between the 4 major tobacco companies at the time and 46 out of the 50 states, plus the U.S. territories of Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. So this Master Settlement Agreement not only deals with money that's given to the states by these tobacco companies every single year, but it also states that they can't advertise in any sports venues. That's why there's no Winston Cup anymore. That's why there's no Skull NASCARs anymore. That's why you don't see cigarette ads at baseball stadiums or tobacco ads at baseball stadiums and things like this. There also can be no billboards, magazine advertisements. Also, part of this Master Settlement Agreement is that the major tobacco companies also have to fund the truth campaign. The commercials you see on TV telling kids not to smoke and all that, that's the truth campaign, and the part of this money goes towards that. Now, the money that goes to the states doesn't go towards that. The actual tobacco companies themselves fund that campaign of commercials. So, the money that I'm talking about, the way the Master Settlement Agreement is set up is that a state is given money, or the states are given money from these 4 tobacco companies, but it's not off profit. It's not how they did that year. It goes off of how many cigarettes were shipped during that year. Now, not all states receive the same amount of money. Some states receive more, some states receive less. But it goes off of cigarettes shipped per year, not profit. So basically all the big tobacco companies did was they bumped their profit up, or they bumped their prices up to get their profit to where it offset the cost of the MSA that they got to pay every year. So the 46 states that are in it were like, hey, nobody's going to, or they're like, hey, we have all this money coming to us. Well, here comes Wall Street knocking at the door. And what they told the states was, hey, you can sell bonds on Wall Street to bondholders, and it's like a loan that you have to pay interest back, but you can get your money now. You don't have to wait a year to get your money. You can get your money now. So a lot of these states entered into tobacco bonds. Now, there's 2 types of bonds that they could have went for. They could have went for the tobacco bond, which they pay every year, or they pay interest and principal every year, so it goes down over time. And then when the bond matures, the bond's already paid off. The other bond they can use is called a CAB bond, which is a capital appreciation bond. Now, this is like a payday loan to the states. And what I'm talking about is, an example is Ohio, okay? Ohio took out $316 million in CAB bonds. Now, these CAB bonds, they don't get paid until they mature in 40 to 50 years. So there's no payments being made towards what they owe. The interest just keeps accruing and accruing and accruing over this time. Financial experts have stated that Ohio took out $316 million of these CAB tobacco bonds. Whenever these bonds mature, they're going to have to pay over $6.6 billion for a $314 million loan. This is the kind of mentality that these states are using. Well, here's the problem with these bonds. They took out these bonds and like, well, hell yeah, we'll sell them because everybody's going to keep smoking forever. Here's the problem with that. Here comes vaping. Okay, vaping now has an estimated base of 9.5 million vapors in the United States alone. So what that means is that's 9.5 million people that no longer smoke. That's 9.5 million people that are not kicking in to the coffers of the big tobacco companies. And now the cigarettes shipped per year on the MSA are going down. So that means their money every year is going down. Well, when that happens, these bonds are still there, that they still have to be paid. So some of these states are now in trouble of defaulting on these bonds. Now, what happens when they default? When these bonds go into default, or if they were to go into default, the bondholders want their money, of course. Well, the money from these states cannot, the taxpayer money from these states cannot go towards those bondholders. It cannot be paid to the bondholders from taxpayer money. The money that the bondholders can get is only tobacco payments. So basically, all these states, when they default, they're going to lose all of their MSA money every single year until these bonds are paid off. Now, if they've entered into a CAB bond, they can get out of it for a high price tag. And New Jersey is one of these states that's opted to do this. So I don't really know the exact numbers, but I do know that New Jersey has opted to pay off their CAB bonds early so they do not default in 40 years. Ohio is in bad shape. Like I say, they're going to have to pay back $6.6 billion. These are not the only two states that took out CAB bonds, but these are the two big prominent ones. California could default as well. So this is why Washington wants to kill vaping, because their bonds are no longer performing the way they should be. The MSA is not performing the way they thought it was going to. Here's the problem. Out of all this money that the states have got, and they have pushed this narrative. Now, I just did a big long video on part number 2 about this narrative about saving the children. Okay, so they did this big, long thing about this, and this information was given to me from Alan Davis over at the Vaping Legion. And I asked him before I named him on this video if it was okay if I thanked him for giving me this information. He said, look, man, I don't really do this so I can get accolades and pats on the back and kudos. I told him, I said, I know that, but I'd like to include you on the video just, as a person that has given me some information. I'd like to thank you, because without his help and without Tristan Thompson's help so far, this video would not be able to be made. So what I'm going to pull up is some quotes from a senator that I pulled up on the video earlier. The 4 politicians that were doing their little tirade, and one of them was from Connecticut. His name's Richard Blumenthal. He's now a senator. At this time, at the time this quote was quoted, he was the Attorney General in Connecticut. Now, this quote comes from USA Today, January 15th, 1999. Here it goes. Attorney General Richard Blumenthal, Democrat, has teamed up with anti-smoking advocates to propose legislation for spending the state's $5.5 billion settlement with Big Tobacco. Under the plan, 45% would go towards education, prevention, and cessation initiatives. 45%. 45% to health programs, and 10% would be invested into an endowment fund. That's what he's quoted in saying. 45% to smoking cessation education programs. As I said earlier in part 2, last year, $0 went to smoking cessation programs. The MSA even states in the first part of the MSA there are some whereas clauses, and it even states that the purpose of the money is to be used for offsetting the price of health care for the states and smoking cessation prevention programs. It has been reported by major news outlets and also by the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids, which is where this quote came from, that only 1.5% on the average among all the states is being used for smoking cessation education programs. Where's the rest of the money going? The MSA money was supposed to go towards that. They're using it for other things. Now, the MSA is not law. What the states are doing is legal. It's not really morally legal, but it's legal. So they claim that they're saving the children, but yet they're not putting any money to save the children. So how is your narrative working out here? It's not. Your narrative is bullshit. And I pointed that out in part number 2, and I'm also pointing out in part number 3 with this MSA thing. Now, it's also been brought to light from a gentleman named Larry Faircloth that is suing the FDA as a consumer. Larry is a former politician from West Virginia, and he is suing them as a consumer. He sued them on 5 different counts. He got judgment a couple of weeks ago. 4 of the counts were dismissed. 1 count was not dismissed. The 1 count that was not dismissed was the Amendment 1, First Amendment, basically, the First Amendment argument that he had. So, the deeming regulation that companies can't do samples, can't give out free samples, that the manufacturers and vape shops can't talk to customers, vape shops can't set up anything for customers legally. That is now in court. That is going to be fought in court. He won the right to argue that point in court. The other 4 were dismissed because, as I think that they were dismissed because for the fact that he's not a company. So some of those counts were dismissed because he can't sue him on those counts as a consumer, only as a company. I don't really understand it, but that's the way I understood from what I've been seeing. So he brought to light a document that is called a non-compete, that is a agreement that is forged between Big Pharma and the states. So far, there are 11 states that have bought into this. And what this is it's basically a agreement that if a state has a company or has a product that is coming out that will rival that of a Big Pharma product, then it is that state's contractual obligational right, or they have to kill whatever is in the Big Pharma's way of that drug, of that prescription drug, or whatever it is, of that product. In return, the states gets hundreds of millions of dollars for this. One of the states was, in the document that he said, he didn't really give a state out, but one of the states was given over $400 million. Wow. Okay, so what is in Big Pharma's way with vaping? What product does Big Pharma have that vaping competes with? Nicotine patches and gums, right? So here are the 11 states. Iowa, Maine, Mississippi, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, Oregon, Utah, Vermont, West Virginia, Wyoming. Some of those 11 states have some of the senators that I named in part 2. I know there was a senator from Vermont that I named in there from the FDA letter, along with Jeff Merkley from Oregon was in there. The Ohio senator was in there. And, so coincidence? I think not. So what's going to happen is you're going to see some asinine things come out of these states in the near future. Also, what compounds it is there's also next year a big election in November 6th of 2018. So I just wanted to bring this to light to show you guys what's going on, why they are motivated to do this. Yes, they're losing taxes. They're losing tobacco taxes in their state as well. Some states even go so far as to have sin taxes on tobacco. So they're losing that money as well because not as many people are buying cigarettes anymore. So because more people are vaping. So now they're pissed. Also, there is litigation from Senator Dick Durbin that he is trying to, I don't know, how should I say this? He's trying to make it to where vaping products are to be taxed the same amount as combustible cigarettes. This is a ongoing thing with him. This is the third or fourth time that second or third, maybe fourth time, that he has tried to push litigation in Congress like this. The other times have been shot down. This one has a chance of floundering as well. That from what I'm seeing online, from online articles, this one has a chance to not go through as well. If it does go through, then within 2 months, I think it's within 2 months or something like that, the FDA has to figure out a way to tax vaping products, i.e. e-liquid. And they want it taxed at the same rate as combustible cigarettes. Now, cigarettes have been proven to kill people. When used correctly, it kills at least a third of the people that it is intended, the people that it kills a third of the people that use it for the intention, or for the intention and the purpose that it's designed for. Sorry if I'm stumbling over my words. I'm pretty tired. It's pretty long day at work. So, if a product is known to kill people, and then you got a product over here that's been proven that's healthier, that is a healthier alternative, that is 95% safer than smoking, or less harmful than smoking, shouldn't you make the taxes reasonable on one if you're going to tax it at all, and then hike the price way up on the killer? You would think, but this is not the way they think, because it's fucking with their money. It's fucking with their state's money, and it makes them look bad. It's going to really make them look bad if their state's going to default on these bonds and their credit rating goes down. That's going to look horrible for every politician in that state, and they don't want that shit. So they're trying to kill it now. They're trying to nip it in the bud now, and by using the non-compete with Big Pharma to get some money back that they've been losing on their bonds. In my opinion, that's what's going on, because it's a little too coincidental that they're making this deal along with the MSA deal, and they've been losing their ass on these bonds, and now some of these states are saying, well, we'll take this deal to offset it. I don't really have any proof that that's what they're doing, but that's my opinion. So please don't send the men in black to my front door now, okay? Because it is my opinion, and it is my God-given right to have my own opinion in this country. So yeah, so that's basically all I got for this video, guys. I just wanted to bring the money aspect into the light of day. That way you guys can understand why they're pushing the initiative of saving those children, because it is safe for them. Like I said, nobody is going to argue with them about saving children. It is a safe argument, and it is one that they are winning because of this fucked up labeling that is going on in the e-liquid world of vaping. So, alright guys, so that's basically all I got for this video. So stay tuned for part 4, because part 4 is going to be what you can do as a vaping consumer to try to save vaping, to try to pull it back from these politicians' grasp, okay? Alright, so until next time, guys, vape on and vape safe, and we'll see you guys later. Good night.